Hi, Mike DeLisio from Solo Mode Games. Today I'm going to do a solo playthrough of the 1 to 4 player game Pocket Mars. Pocket Mars is essentially a hand management card game where you are attempting to get colonists from Earth onto a spaceship, and then from that spaceship onto Mars. You're trying to colonize buildings on Mars, colonize the planet better than the opponent, the AI opponent known as the DA or Devious Automatics. It's a pretty quick game, a lot of decisions to be made for such a quick play time. Hopefully you'll get a pretty good idea of it when we go to the table. Let's head on over right now and take a look. Okay, here we have the solo setup for Pocket Mars, a card game of hand management primarily. And the setup is not terribly different from the multiplayer game. I'll point out the few differences that you have. This is my play area. I'm going to play as the blue player. This is my spaceship, and just like in the multiplayer game, I'm going to start with one colonist. Each of these cubes represent colonists, and my energy meter is going to be starting on the starting space of 1 energy. It's colored differently to denote that, so I've got my energy marker on 1 and 1 colonist. The remaining 6 colonists are on Earth. The basic flow of what you're trying to do in this game, both multiplayer and solo, is you're trying to get colonists from Mars onto your spaceship, and then from your spaceship onto one of these 4 buildings on Mars. This particular building, the construction building, cannot actually accept any colonists, and on the building itself there's a little marker there to show that. That means that no colonists actually go onto this building. So all 5 of these cards represent buildings on Mars. So we're trying to get colonists from Earth onto our spaceship, and then from our spaceship onto Mars. So this is my player area. I've got 4 starting cards. I'm going to go through, I haven't looked at them yet, they're just random. I'm going to choose 2 of these cards to put into what is called my prep module, and 2 of them will go in my hand. This is the opponent, the AI opponent. It's known as DA, Devious Automatics, so I'll just refer to it as the DA player. The difference here is that although they also start with 1 energy marker, or 1 energy point with the marker on there, instead of having the 1 colonist like you see in a multiplayer game, they start with 5 of their 7 colonists already on the spaceship, and the remaining 2 colonists are on Earth. They already have I've just randomly chosen or picked the top 2 cards from the supply deck there, and this is their prep module, and I'll explain what the prep modules are and how they work in just a moment. But there's their starting setup. The big difference there is the number of colonists that they already start with. Okay, so the flow of the game is going to be such that I will take a turn. I will do 1 of 5 different actions. That's what's called the architect phase in the solo game. It is similar to the actions taken in the multiplayer game. There are some differences that I will point out when I do them. But basically speaking, the actions that I can do is I can play a project card from my hand, I can play a project card from my prep module, I can play a project card from the DA's prep module, I can take a colonist from Earth, place it on my spaceship, or I can gain 2 energy by discarding a card from my hand or prep module. All of these things will be explained as they go. There are 5 different types of cards. They all correspond to the same colors as the building. So we've got, and they all have thematic ties, and I'll look in the rule book to kind of give you those thematic ties because I don't honestly remember what each color stands for. Hopefully I can find it quickly. Yes, the yellow building is known as the energy building, okay? And generally they allow you to manipulate energy in some way. The purple building is the science building. This is going to usually allow you to gain colonists or manipulate colonists in some way from Earth. The black, as I mentioned earlier, is the construction building, and this is something that's going to allow you to move to pretty much any building. Each of these buildings have a power that's specific to it. The blue building is the water building, and that usually allows you to manipulate cards, cycle cards through your hand or through your prep module. And then finally, the green building is the ecosystem building, and that, generally speaking, is going to allow you to move colonists from one side of the building to another. Speaking very quickly about that, on each of these building cards, there are two areas. Generally speaking, unless there's some kind of a special power, I'm sorry, I'm trying to get this in focus here. Generally speaking, let me see if I can help. All right, here we go. When you place a colonist, it's going to go onto this left side. Although there's one star there, and this is something I kind of wish they had changed a little bit in the game, although there's one star there at the end of the game for each colonist that either you or the DA has, they're going to receive 2 points. So if I have 2 colonists on this side, I'd have 4 points from this building at the end of the game. On this side, if you're able to get a colonist to this side, this is actually 4 points at the end of the game. 2 stars is 4 points, 1 star is 2 points. Also, denoted here is that since we play the solo game as if it's a 2-player game, there is a maximum of 1 colonist that can be in any one of these buildings, any one of the 5 buildings. There's only 1 colonist that can be on this kind of double point side of the building. So that's something that we'll be trying to maneuver as well. End game is triggered by one of 3 ways. When either one of us gets all 7 of our colonists onto buildings in Mars, that triggers the end of the game. Or if the project deck runs out, that triggers the end of the game. And in the solo game, you're going to burn 2 of those cards every turn. And the other way is if you're unable to refill the DA's prep module, that also will trigger the end of the game. Okay? Really quickly, I'll go over what the specific powers of these buildings are. The yellow building, you can gain 1 energy if you trigger that building's ability. The science building, purple building, you can take 1 colonist from Earth and put it onto your spaceship if you have one. The construction, black building, you move 1 colonist from your ship to a building of your choice, any one but this because no colonists go here. The blue building, the water building, if you trigger that ability, you can place 1 project card from your hand or prep module to the bottom of the deck. Finally, the ecosystem green building, that's going to allow you to move 1 colonist from one side to the other. So either I can move 1 of my colonists from the 1 or 2 point side to the 4 point side, or I can move 1 of DA's colonists who may be in the 4 point side and move them back to the 2 point side. All of the buildings start with a value of 3, and I'll explain what that means in just a moment. One other thing I did want to point out, and I'm just going to take a random card from the middle of the deck here so I can show you, and then I'll shuffle it back in. Each of these project cards has a few things to take a look at. All right, sorry about the shake there, I'm just trying to get it to focus. You have a value in the top left. That's going to apply when you play it from the prep module onto the building. And these are multi-use cards. The top ability of any card is going to be when you play it from your hand. When you play it from your hand, it gets discarded and you just do whatever it says. In this case, you would move 1 colonist from your ship to a building of your choice. You'd play it, you'd discard it, and that would be your turn. If you're doing the bottom ability, that means that you're playing it from your prep module. The first thing that you would do is compare the number of the card you're playing with either any card, or the topmost card that's been played to that building, or if no card has been played there yet, that 3 value. If the card you're playing from your prep module has a larger number than either the topmost card or the building number, and in any of these cases 3, then you get to move a colonist from your spaceship to the building. You may trigger the bottom ability, which in this case is take 1 colonist from Earth if you have another ecosystem green card in your hand. And then you can trigger the buildings ability, okay? The number really is applying when you're looking to move colonists from your spaceship to that corresponding building, okay? So that is basically how they work. Top ability is your hand ability. You play it, you discard it, and you're done. Bottom ability is playing it from your prep module. You compare numbers, potentially move a colonist, trigger this bottom ability, and then if you want to trigger the building ability, I'm just going to kind of put this back in the middle of the deck. All right. And then there's something known as the 4-card rule, which I will also explain. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take these 4 cards that I was dealt. I'm going to briefly look at them. Looks like I've got 2 of the construction cards, one of the energy cards, one of the water cards. Both of these cards have a 4 value, so potentially if I played either one of those from my prep module, I would be able to move a colonist to Mars. So I think what I'm going to do is put one of my, let's see here. Okay, well, I'm gonna put this energy card in my prep module, and then I think I'm also going to, I'd love to be able to get, well, I'm going to keep this in my hand because that will gain 2 energy, which I will need to use 2 energy. Yeah, so I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to keep this card in hand because I'm going to play that to gain energy. I'm going to use this in my prep module so that once I gain that energy, I'll be able to trigger this bottom ability, which is to basically use 2 energy and take 2 colonists from Earth. So I want to keep this in my hand, and I'll go ahead and put this in my prep module. Okay? All right, so now I have 2 cards in hand, 2 cards in my prep module. The DA has their 2 cards in the prep module, and I'm going to go ahead and get started. Okay, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to play from my hand this construction card. The hand ability is gain 2 energy. So I put that in the discard. I gain 2 energy, 1, 2. Now, there's something called the 4 card rule. At the end of my turn, I have to have 4 cards in my total, in my possession. 2 in the prep module, 1 in my hand, or 2 in my hand, excuse me. Right now, I've got 3, so I have to draw a card. In the multiplayer game, I would be drawing it from the project deck, but in the solo game, what I'm going to do is I have to draw one from the DA's prep module. So I think what I'm going to do is I'll go ahead and take this card from their prep module, which is a 6 value science card. All right. And now it is the DA's turn. And on the DA's turn, we're going to do 3 things. Okay. We're first going to have the system failure phase, which means basically that the top 2 cards from the project deck are going to be put in the discard pile. This is a timer basically, and it's burning through the time. All right. The next thing we're going to do is what's called the Android activation phase. All right. Which is, if there's only 1 card in the DA module, you take 1 of their colonists and place it on the corresponding building. So this is going to go right on to that building in Mars. And then there are what are called triggering the DA alternative building ability. All right. And so for the yellow building, what this is called is energy building, overwhelming power. I increase the energy level on the DA spaceship by 2. 1, 2. This is really going to be for end game points. Whoever has the most energy at the end of the game is going to get an extra point. It's most likely going to be the DA, honestly. The other way you get points, other than the number of points you get for colonists on either side of the building, is that there's a little bit of a set collection bonus. If I get at least 1 colonist on every one of the 4 buildings, I'm going to gain an extra, I'm going to look at this, but I believe it's 2 points. Yes, I'm also going to get a point for every colonist on my spaceship. If I have at least 4 colonists in one building, so for example, I've got maybe 2 here and 1, or 3 here and 1 here, that will get me an extra 3 points. Now, the DA is going to get more than that. They're going to get more points. They're going to get 1 point for every colonist on their spaceship. They're also going to get 4 victory points if they get 1 on each. So that's more for them. And they gain 5 victory points instead of 3 for having 4 colonists in any one building. They'll gain 2 victory points if they have the highest energy level. So this will be the 3rd time solo I've played. I have not gotten close yet. I don't anticipate doing very well at this point, but I'm still learning, okay? So they've triggered their alternative building ability. The energy has gone up 2, and now they're going to draw back up to 4. This is going to go into their prep module, all right? Now it's my turn, and hopefully things will go a little more quickly now that I've kind of played through a whole thing. All right, so I think what I wanted to do, I can always look at the cards in my prep module. Unless I have an ability, I can't look at the DA's values because, of course, I can play from their prep module as well. And there's a little difference in the solo game on that. In the multiplayer game, if you play from another player's prep module, that will never be able to trigger a way to get a colonist onto that building. In the solo game, if I get lucky, or if I've looked to see through another ability that the number is higher than either the top card or the building, I can then move a colonist, like as if I was playing out of my own prep module. That's different in the solo game. In the multiplayer game, if you play from someone else's prep module, really all that's going to allow you to do is trigger the building's ability. In the solo game, you get to potentially move a colonist, do the bottom card action, and trigger the building ability. So it's basically like you're playing out of your own prep module. Okay, I think what I wanted to do here was this. Yes, so I play a card from my prep module to the energy building. This number 4 is higher than that number 3, so I get to put one of my colonists there. I can, if I want to, trigger this bottom ability, which is use 2 energy and take 2 colonists from Earth. So I spend 2 energy, go back down to 1, take 2 colonists, put them on my spaceship, and then I can trigger that building ability. You can always trigger the building ability, whether your card is higher, whether you can do that bottom action or not. That's something you can always do. So I gain that energy back. All right. Now, I only have 1 card in my prep module, so what I have to do to refill that, I don't get it from the project deck, I have to refill it from my hand. And so, I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and put the blue building there. Now I have 4 card rule. I only have 3 cards. I have 2 in my prep module, 1 in my hand, so I have to draw 1 from there. I'm going to take this one because I don't want them to put another colonist onto the yellow building right now. It actually lucked out because that's a 7-point building. That's great. Now we go to the DA's turn. System failure. I burn 2 cards. We look at their prep module. They have 1 there, so if there were 2 here somehow, we would skip the Android activation phase, but there usually is 1 there. We take it, we move it there, all right? And then we do the alternative action building. And for the science building, it's a recruitment drive. We move 1 DA colonist from Earth to their spaceship, like so, refilling their prep module. All right, it's back to me. Well, the hand ability of this card is interesting. If I just play this for its hand ability, and I'm really sorry the glare here is causing a problem with focusing, I could gain 2 energy and do 1 more action. So potentially here I can gain 2 energy and play something out of my prep module. That is an interesting thought. I could also, boy, I really think I might want to do that because then, yeah, I'd be able to move over there, or I'd be able to play to there. So I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to play this for its hand ability. Discard it, gain 2 power or energy. It puts me up to 4, and I get to do 1 more action. So I think what I'm going to do is, let's save this, I think. I'm going to play this. Okay? So I play this here. I can use 3 energy and move 1 colonist from my ship to a building of my choice. So I do that. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to go ahead and put this one here. Then I can trigger this. Move 1 colonist from your ship to a building of your choice. And I think what I'll go ahead and do is put it there. And so now I'm setting myself up for having colonists in every building pretty quickly. Now I have to do the 4 card rule, which means that I refill my prep module with the 1 in my hand. I draw both of these because I have to get back to 4. And now I did set it up, and this is actually in 3 solo games the first time I've been able to do this. I set it up so that actually they're going to skip the Android activation phase, and that's pretty terrific. So we do system failure. We go ahead and we burn those 2 cards. There is no Android activation phase, and so we just refill their prep module back up to 2. Okay. Okay, I need to get some colonists back onto my ship. I can do that by playing a couple of things here. I can play, let's see, I don't really want to waste playing this card for my prep module because it's a 6, and if I play that later, I'd be able to move a colonist to there. The reason I was thinking of going there is that the building's ability is to take 1 colonist from Earth. So what I think I might do is play this as a hand card, which says to take 1 colonist from Earth and gain an energy. So I'll go ahead and play that out of my hand, gain a colonist from Earth, and gain an energy. All right, now I've got 1 card that I need to get, so it's going to come from the DA's prep module. I think what I'll do is go ahead and... They don't have anybody in the green yet. So I think what I might do is take the green card. Okay, and now we go to the system failure phase. We burn 2 cards. And since you cannot put colonists onto the construction building, no colonists move at this point, but we do trigger the alternative action building ability for the construction building. And so on this one, what you do is you move a DA colonist from the DA spaceship, so you are going to be doing it, it's just not going to go there, to a, what it says is to a building of your choice. But what you have to do is try to do it in such a way that you're giving the DA the best chance to score. There's no exact thing here. It says you should optimize the placement to maximize their final score as best as you can. And so to try to place it as if you were playing the DA. So I guess really what my question is here, is it more likely that they're going to get 1 in each building or 4 in 1 building? And so honestly, I think what I'll do is just move it to the blue building, because I think it's less likely that they'll get 4 on 1. And so I'm setting them up to get those bonus points for being in every building. All right. So that's the end of their turn. They're going to refill back up to 4, and then my next turn will begin. Okay, so for my next turn, let's see here. I wouldn't mind going here because I want to keep getting colonists onto my spaceship. And if I do this, I can get a colonist up there. Now, I eventually am certainly going to want to play to that building so that I can get 1 in each, but I shouldn't have a problem. I've got a prep module card here that's higher than that. So I think what I'll do is I'll play from this, from my DA, or excuse me, from my prep module. This is a 6, it's a 3, so I get to move 1 of my colonists to that building. The bottom ability is move your colonists from any building back to your ship and gain 2 energy. So if I wanted to, I could move 1 of these back to my ship and gain 2 energy. That would be interesting because then I'm still going to be able to trigger this building. But I also would love to be able to get 4 in this building, so I don't know. I hesitate to move any of my colonists back to my ship. I think I'm going to pass on that ability. That may have been a mistake. Those energies can really, they do help at sometimes, but I'm not going to do that. So now I will forego that. I will trigger this ability and take 1 from Earth. Okay. I have to refill my prep module with a card from my hand. So I think what I'll do is go ahead and play the, yeah, I think what I'll do is I'll play this to the prep module. I'll go ahead and take this. They'll have another one in the blue building. And here we go. The system failure phase, burn 2 cards. 1, 2. Android activation phase, the colonist goes to the blue building. All right. And then we trigger the alternative building action, which in the water building is called a spark. We take the top 2 cards from the project deck and we burn them. So basically it's a double burning. It's moving the pace of the game up a little bit. So we burn 2 more cards there. All right. And now we draw back to 2 in their prep module. All right. My turn. Do I want to go ahead and play to that blue building? It might not be a bad idea. I could also play from their prep module. The only concern there is that my blue card is a 4. And yeah, really, I might have been smart to keep this card in my hand, because the hand ability on this is to move one colonist from my ship right to the water building, so that'd have been nice. I also would like to play a card to this building, because that's going to allow me to move one of my colonists to the higher scoring building of my choice, and so I need to do that soon. I can do that by, on this turn, refilling my prep module from my hand. And so I think what I'll do is I'll go ahead and play to that blue building, all right, from my prep module. So I move a colonist to the blue building. If I like, I can spend my last 2 energy to put 2 project cards from my hand on the bottom of the deck. I don't think I want to do that. The building ability is put 1 project card from my hand or prep module on the bottom of the deck. And honestly, I might want to do that, because if I do that, let's say I put this on the bottom of my deck, on the bottom of the deck, that means I'm going to refill my prep module with these 2 cards, fill back up to 4 with these, and then they don't get an Android activation. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take this from my prep module, put it on the bottom of the deck. All right. Now I have to refill my prep module from my hand. I have nothing left in hand, so now this is my hand, and they're not going to get an Android activation phase. So that's great. So we burn 2 cards with the system failure phase, 1 and 2. All right. We skip the Android activation phase, and we refill their prep module with, looks like, 2 science buildings. All right, good. So twice this game, and again, as I said before, I hadn't been able to do that at all in previous games. Twice this game, I was able to skip their Android activation phase. So I need to get my colonists onto a ship here. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the action of taking a colonist from Earth. Now, what's different in the solo game is that in the multiplayer game, that's your action. You just take a colonist from Earth, put it onto your ship. But here in the solo game, when you do that, you have to discard 1 project card from the DA prep module. Yeah, that's something you have to do. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to take a colonist from Mars. I'm going to just discard 1 of these, happen to be a 7, and go from there. All right. So that was my turn. I am still at 4 because I didn't play any of my cards. So now we're going to the system failure phase, where we burn 2 cards. There's 1 card in the DA's prep module, so it's going to go there. We're going to do the alternative action for the ecosystem building, which is a double upgrade. And this is a rough one. You have to do 2 upgrades. The first one that you try to do is move a DA colonist from one side of the building to the other, and then you do that twice if you can, and we will be able to here. The second thing is, if you couldn't do that, if they were all full, you would basically move 1 of my colonists from the from the higher point side to the other point side. At this point, I don't know if there's a difference on which one, so I'll just move this one here and this one here. That's their double upgrade, and that's rough. There's no doubt about it. That's giving them a lot of points right there. Okay, and we refill their prep module from the deck. All right, let's see. I've got some work to do here. I do want to get a colonist to that green building. So I can play from my prep module, or I can play from the DA's prep module. I think I'll play from mine. All right, this is a, well, shoot, if I play from his, I might be able to go, because 6 is a high number. I think I'm going to take a risk and do this, and I blew it. That was a risk, okay? It's a 1. So I cannot move 1 of my colonists to there. That's rough. I can do the bottom action. If this building didn't have any of my colonists on it, which it does, I would have been able to take 2, or in this case, just the one that's left from Earth. So kind of a double whammy, but I do get to trigger that building's ability. And I think what I'll do is, I only have two options because I can't put them here, that's full. I'll go ahead and just move this to there. All right, I'm already at 4, so I don't need to refill. The DA has 1, so they don't move there, but what they do is, well, first I need to burn the 2 cards, sorry. System failure. Now it's Android activation phase. So with the construction building, this is going to move to the place that's going to give them the most potential points. And in this case, that would be the blue building because that gets them closer to 4. That's easy to figure out. So we put that there, and then this gets refilled, and we're getting close to the end of the project deck there. All right. Okay, well, let's see what I got. I know that I can go ahead and, I think that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to play here. I know that it's higher. I've got a 6. I'll be able to move this to that building, and then I'll be able to move this to there. I could also, conversely, move one of theirs off, but I think that's kind of a, I'm not really doing the math at this point, but I think it's a wash. All right, so I play for my prep module. It is higher, so I get to move to there. If I choose to, I can move the colonist from the 2-star to the 1-star side and gain 4 energy, and that could potentially get me some points. Wow. Yeah, I think that's what I'm going to do, because then I can go ahead and just trigger this building's ability. So I will do that. I'll move this to here, gain 4 energy. That's going to get me to 6. Then I trigger this ability, and I can move another colonist right back over there. All right. I need to refill my prep module from my hand. Neither one of these are of a higher number than what I have here. That my blue is a 3 and my purple is a 2. So I think I'll just go ahead and place the purple building here. And now I need to refill from here. I'll go ahead and do this. All right. And now we go to the DA's turn with the system failure phase 1 and 2. That's the last 2 cards from the project deck. All right. They don't have a colonist on Mars. And so in that case, what ends up happening is you take one from Earth, put it on their spaceship instead, and then we trigger the building's ability, which in the case of the purple is move a colonist from Earth to the spaceship. They don't have any. So that kind of lucked out for me. All right. Let's make sure. The end game is triggered when the DA module, prep module, is fewer than 2 cards, and that is the case. I can't refill the prep module, so now we do end game scoring. Okay, so looking at my score, it looks like I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 14, based off of that. All right, I'm going to gain, let's see here, I want to make sure, I think an extra 2 points for having, yes, so 16, because I have 1 in each of the 4 buildings, so there's 16, all right, and 1 victory point for the energy, so 17 points. If I'm adding this right, I got 17 points. Let's look at the DA's score, okay? 4, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17. They also, yeah, they're going to beat me because they have 1 in each. Yeah, so let's make that 4, 8, 10, 12, 14, 17, 18, plus they're going to get 4 victory points for having 1 in each, so 18, 22. All right, so 22 to my, I believe it was either 17 or 18. Honestly, that's as close as I've come to beating the DA. I feel like I'm getting closer. I feel like I'm getting a little bit of a handle on how to manage these cards. But as you can see, there's for a simple rule set, there's some interesting decisions to be made. So hopefully that gave you a pretty good idea on how to play the solo version of Pocket Mars. Hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much Thanks for watching and have a great day.